All right, so this is going to be the last short tutorial on using this new technology for going from stories to AI to video to visually telling your story, right? And we're going to be using a platform called Veed, Veed.io. All right, you do need to make a an account, but it's free. There are paid versions. You do not need to use the paid versions. Everything that you need is available for free. Now, I also recognize that some of you may be more familiar with other video editing platforms already. For example, there's CapCut. Some of you may already use programs that are like actual software on your computer, like maybe DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Final Cut or something like that. I'm not familiar with all of those because they cost money. And frankly, Veed does everything that I need it to do. I do end up with a small watermark in the top corner when I make a video, but that's okay. I get a good video for free with all the editing tools that I need. And it's simple. Okay. And I think that's one of the most important parts. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and on Veed's screen right here, this is what you get when you log in. This is your home screen. We're going to go with create a new project. Okay, there's also other options, right? You can record some video, like what I'm doing through Zoom right now. I'm doing something like that. But I'm going to create a new project here. All right. And what we need to do first is we need to upload a whole bunch of our files. All right. Now, if you don't have anything right away, you can click the X and it's okay. We can put stuff in a minute, right? Now, what we're doing, we're going to be using two main sections here. We're going to be using the media section and the audio section, right? You can add text overlays or subtitles or things like that if you'd like to. But the only two things that we actually really need for doing this project are the media section and the audio section, right? So in media, right, it's really simple. I can drag and drop those images that I created, those videos that I created, right, through Night Cafe or Vidu if you created some short video clips. And so let me just drop some in really quick. And there, I've got a few. Great. So I'll just bring those in, and it's really simple. You just drag and drop, and it's going to pop them in down here at the bottom. Okay. You can see here it's loading, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to zoom this out a little bit so that I can actually properly see everything. Right, you can see along this bottom bar, this section from here to here is 5 seconds, right? If I zoom in, right now, that same 5 seconds takes a little bit longer, right? So this is an easy way to zoom in on your content so that you can kind of see where it ends up so that you can match it later with your audio. All right. Now, one really cool thing about this is we can change the size. Okay. I don't know what's going on here, but let's look at this one here. We can change the size of these images. We can make them bigger, we move them around. We can rotate them a little bit if we want for some reason. Okay, generally, I like to try and take up as much of the screen as I can. So we'll increase that, and you can see the lines pop up to help us know that we are centered, right? You saw that, right? And it kind of catches into that space where we're centered in the thing. Okay. Now, another thing that people might wonder is, okay, so how do I want this picture to last longer than what have we got here? We've got like 4 seconds worth of this image, right? Now, if you remember in the story, you've seen my example. In the story, one of the villages, they have a catastrophic storm flood happen. So this is the image that talks about that. Now, likely, when I finally do my audio, I'm going to be talking a lot longer than just 4 seconds on this. It's really simple to change how long that image will be there. All right. And actually, this one is not actually an image. This one is a video that I put in here, right? So you can even see this is one of the video clips that I got from Veed, um, which is really cool. It does a great job of showing what's happening, right? Guys in shock. There's a big wave crashing, um, and yeah. So I'm gonna show you first because yeah, we can change the length, we can change how long these images are there for, but we can't really know exactly how long we need that yet. All right. So, um, first, what we're going to do is we're going to add an audio. Because then, once we've done the audio, the actual story, we've told the story, now we have that file and we can figure out where our pictures go, how long they need to be there for until they switch to the next one. Right? It doesn't make sense. Think about when you're reading a book to a child. Okay. You generally you hold the book so that they can see the pictures and you don't show them the pictures for a couple seconds and then take the book away and keep reading, right? You would continue reading while they are looking at the image for the entire time while you're reading about that section of the book, right? And so we want to do the same thing when we're telling the story. We don't want to have the image on the screen for just a couple seconds and then have the screen go blank until we get to the next picture, right? That's not a great way to tell a story. So instead, what we're going to do is we've brought in all our images. Now they're there. We can kind of forget about them for a minute. Okay. The next step, we're going to go to audio, the audio tab over here. There's a few different options. Anytime where you see one of these little lightning bolts, that means that that is a paid feature, right? You can pay, you can upgrade, you don't need to, all right? Because we're not doing a text to speech. We don't want a robot telling the story for us. A voice clone could be interesting because then it's your voice technically, but it's still going to sound a little robot-y. Okay, we don't want to be a robot telling the story. We want to provide the emotions. We want to maybe even change the voice a little bit depending on the character, depending on your story. So what we're going to do is we're going to click voiceover. Okay, now it's so simple. We click record. It will give us a countdown, 3, 2, 1. We start recording, right? And we are telling the story. That's one of the reasons why we made sure that we wrote out a script. We've practiced it a couple times. You'll probably still make a mistake, and that's okay. I'm going to show you what to do with that in a minute. All right. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a quick recording, and then we'll come back and we'll see how we can fit things in. Okay? All right. So I've added in an audio layer. You can see right here we've got voiceover, right? And it was really simple. I just pressed record, got a countdown, and I went through just 1 minute's worth of my script. All right. My story is much longer than 1 minute. Uh, but I've got 1 minute's worth, 1 minute, 10 seconds approximately of my story here. Okay. Now, it put it on the bottom. I want to put it up top. It's just a personal preference. Um, if it will let me. It doesn't want to let me. Okay, it's fine. Doesn't matter. And so what I'm going to do here is now these pictures don't necessarily represent what goes on with the story right now. What I want to do though more is I want to show you how we can add things and make them longer, make them shorter, etc. Okay, so if we've got this image here, we've got these two people on the beach. They are looking through the clams, etc. Right, and I need this picture to be actually. Yeah. Yeah, I need this picture to be going up until this point, right? I've listened to my audio and this picture makes sense all the way up until right here. Okay? It's really simple. I place my marker right here and I just drag this and it will click to that spot. All right? And I know now that this picture will fit with the section of my audio that it needs to, right? The next one, I just drag it over and it's going to click into place. Boop, there it goes. All right. And so now I know that I'm not going to have um, any missing frames where it's just empty. It's going to go directly from one image to the next image. Okay. All right. And this one, maybe I want to make it a little bit bigger, obviously. Um, we can also we can add in an animation so that it comes in, like it fades in. Maybe that might be a little bit more interesting, or maybe it fades out or whatever, right? And that's okay. So this is how you can extend, right, an image, right? We can move things around. We can even, if we need this image again, this one right here, we need it again after this one, right? We can use our keyboard, Control C, right? We can copy that image and we can bring our thing over here and we can paste it and we've got that image again, right? So we can do simple copy paste with these images once we've got it laid in. All right, let's move our video over. Let's see if we can, yep. And we can scoot this over. Let's make sure it clicks. Great. Now, sometimes, right, I mentioned earlier, when we are doing our voiceover, sometimes we make a mistake. Now, if we make a mistake right at the very beginning, we can click the retake, we can stop, we can start over. But if we're really close to the end, or maybe even in the middle or wherever, and we don't, let's say it's a 5 minute long story or something like that, we don't really want to have to redo the whole thing. And so what I've found is the easiest thing to do is I'll just stop. I'll let there be silence so that I know exactly where my mistake was, right? And then on my script, I'll just rewind one sentence, right? I'll just go back one sentence and start over at that point. Okay. And that makes it really easy later to know where I've made mistakes as I'm listening through my audio, making the images fit with the audio, etc. Right? It makes it really simple for me to know where my mistakes were. So let's say that I've got one around the 40-second mark. You can zoom in. Right? Zooming in is great because we can really kind of get to the exact point where that mistake was, right? And I need to rewind back to the beginning of that sentence so that I don't have like, couple extra words here and there from the last sentence and then I stop it right at the mistake. No, I need to rewind back to the last sentence. That's why we start over with the last sentence, right? And all I need to do is I just need to click split. What that does is it splits my audio into two pieces. Then what I do is I scoot my cursor all the way over to where I start again, right? So I have that long pause. Doesn't have to be like super long, maybe a couple seconds where you just know this is a pause. You take a breath and then you start over. All right. And at that point, that's my point right there where I start over. I click split. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see this. And you can see that there's this section all by itself. All right. All I need to do is make sure that's the only thing selected. I can delete it. And I scoot my audio over until it connects. And now I've just taken out that mistake, right? Some very simple editing going on. All right. And do that anywhere that you have a mistake. Remember, take a pause, take a breath, go back one sentence, and start over. It makes it really easy to find those locations. And since you're leaving some empty space, it makes it really simple to make sure that you don't have one of those edits where like somebody's talking and you can really tell that they edited the audio because everything's squeezed together, almost choppy, right? We don't want it to be choppy. Leave some space there so that it sounds a little bit more natural. Okay. Um, and as you're then going through, make sure that you put the images where they need to be, right? If you find, oh man, I've got one image that it's like a whole minute long. Go back to Night Cafe, make another image that fits into that spot. There's no problem with that, right? Feel free to reuse images if you think that you can reuse them, especially when you're talking about the connection that your story makes to the SDGs, because don't forget you want to have that section in here, right? You want to describe like what does this story actually mean to the SDGs? How is it like a proto SDG, an, a cultural norm that they taught through story to make sure that there was equity, or to make sure that there was always food, or to make sure that the water stayed clean, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Um, Feel free to go back to Night Cafe and or to your image generator of choice and add in some new images, right? Um, for example, what I did was I wanted some images that maybe were a little bit more reflective of now. Okay, so I'm going to bring one in right here, right? And this picture has nothing to do with the Fiji story. Okay, it's just a an image that was created of a tide pool next to the ocean, and you can see some starfish, maybe some other little organisms of some kind, right? And it just gives some sort of background to while I'm talking about the importance of life in water, right? Which is the SDG that I connected this story with, right? It doesn't You can go and you can make as many images as you feel that you need to if you've got enough tokens for Night Cafe, or the other platform that you might use. But yeah, get creative, have fun with it. The editing does not need to be absolutely professional level. You're doing something very simple. You are adding images and a voiceover. That's all you need to do. Now, when you're done, make sure that you go back and you listen to it a few times, right? You need to make sure that it fits, right? One issue that a lot of people have is they'll have gaps in between their images, and then what happens is you end up with you end up with this just black space in between these pictures, right? As you're going through. And that's not very great. You want things to not have that weird transition, right? You want things to switch right away. Another issue that happens a lot is that people will finish their video and they won't have actually made it so that their images go all the way to the end of when they're speaking. So you end up with like your images are over, but the video keeps going, talking, 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 especially if you forget about adding images for your SDG comparison section, right? And so you're talking about how the story fits with the SDG, and there's nothing but a black screen. Okay. So consider that as well to make sure that when you go back, before you press done up here and download your final video, that you check it, double check, watch it, and see if it actually works. Okay. See if the images match up with the stories the way that you thought that they should. See if there's maybe a weird transition somewhere that you need to fix. Or maybe when you were doing your voiceover, you made a mistake and you didn't catch it in the editing, and now, oh, I listened to it and I made a mistake there that I left that pause. And that, that's going to sound really funny. If you make a mistake, leave a pause and then start over, right? You need to go and you need to fix that. Right? This is the video editing stage. It might be really quick. It might take you a little while. It's okay. It doesn't cost anything but your time, right? Um, and it's a new skill that you're going to learn that you can use all over the place in your own classrooms, in projects that you might do, or workshops you could lead, right? Learning how to do some video editing, even a simple video edit like this on Veed, is really, really useful for the future. right? So then when you're done, you press done, and then you need to upload that to YouTube. If you're not familiar with uploading to YouTube, there's lots of tutorials already out there. I don't feel that it's necessary for me to do yet another tutorial on how to upload to YouTube, but it's very simple. You just go to your YouTube and you press create content, upload a video, you drag it onto that screen and follow the prompts, fill in the blanks, and there you go. You're done. Share the link on your final assignment, and you're good to go. All right. So I hope that this tutorial will give you the basics for some really simple video editing, right? Remember, we're not trying to win a Hollywood award doing this. This is as simple as we need to make it to get something out there. All right. And yeah, Veed is a great platform for that. There's also CapCut and others as well. So just work with what you feel comfortable with. And I really look forward to seeing the completed videos. Just watching, listening to all of the amazing cultural stories, myths, legends that have always been out there relating to the SDGs from around the world. It's really, really cool and mind-opening for all of us, actually, right? To see that they've always been there. These ideas have always been there. So good luck in your projects, and I can't wait to see the final results.